to another episode of Immaculate Conversations. Today we have in our studio Andrew Wood, Al Brown, Mario Karakiris, and myself, Sarab Sandhu. We are going to talk today. First thing is, we promised you we're going to talk about meat. This is the
Oh my
time
goodness.
we have to
I know.
all stop eating meat and other carcinogenic stuff. And
Wow.
we have to look after our own self, increase our vitality. Now, I must give you a little background here. I mean, I have a little, I spoke to one of the, um, he was a pro athlete, professional athlete, and I asked him, what inspired you to do that? You know what he said? See, when you look at things like processed red meat, now it's classed as a carcinogenic, the same as smoking and alcohol. When I saw stuff like this, that I was thinking, well, how's that? I thought meat was good for us. Then you start delving into and you see the environmental impact that agriculture is having on the planet and the ethical side of things. After I put all these together, I felt personally I couldn't contribute to the industry anymore. Now, I ask you another question. Tell us how you transitioned to being vegan and what that process looked like over the 2 year period. You know what he said? I stopped eating red meat initially, then cut chicken off, then I was a pescatarian, then I cut fish off, then I was a vegetarian, then I went vegan. I just did it step by step because it is a big decision, especially being a professional sportsman. I didn't want to do anything that would be detrimental to my career. So that's why I took it slowly, but each time I cut something out, I realized I wasn't making a difference. And if anything, I felt better. Now, I want to tell you something. My experience with veganism and basically cutting on meat, the end result is you have a longer lifespan. Your digestive system is not being abused because meat takes about 3 to 4 hours to go to the intestines. And after that, it takes 24 hours before it's eliminated. And the, the final result is you live longer and you live healthy. Of course, this is not visible because this is a very slow process. And they say red meat after 50 is 4 times more dangerous than smoking is.
Okay.
Cancer. So
Well,
can I persuade you that if I want you to live long, can you stop meat? Mario?
yeah. It, I wanted to interject though. Yeah, Mario, you can talk to him, but this Sarab who just gave us this introduction, which one might conceive to be a little off topic since we were going to talk about education, but Mr. Sandhu, you are the man who was telling me as recently as a year ago how you were going to go into business as a goat farmer and you were going to make it big time in livestock. And that was going to be your trade from now on. And that doesn't quite square with what you've just been telling us for the past few minutes here.
Those are my thoughts. So you're not going to argue on my thoughts. I can think anything I want. But the main thing is I want everybody to stop eating, especially who are above 50, to stop eating meat. And especially now in COVID, take this time to start having vegetables and non-meat stuff because it's good for you. Your vitality goes up. So what do you have to say to that, Mario?
Let me say this to you. Sarah, you see these? Okay. Nature gave me these for a reason. It didn't give me to crunch on leaves. Okay. Nature, wait a minute. Nature gave me these because as a species, okay, through evolution, we are carnivores. Okay.
No.
Now the question, wait a minute. The question is whether meat is healthy for you. And I got to tell you this, that the preparation and the animal control and how antibiotics are injected into the animals, that part of it is where the problem really is and why it's more dangerous and more carcinogenic and all that kind of stuff. we have moved away from how we were, 1,000 years ago, of getting out there and trapping our own meat and eating it fresh as we killed it. Now there's processes and processing and all that kind of stuff, and preservatives put in there that are what? Chemicals. And that's where the problem comes in, Sarah. It's not eating meat. You're never going to get me. I'm sorry. You're never going to get me to not enjoy a nice ribeye steak. I will never go there because it is not out of the window everything. In Greeks have something what we call pan metron ariston, which means everything in moderation. And yes, I don't usually follow that in my own diet. If I stood up, you could tell. But regardless of that, if we just follow that precept of those ancient Greeks who knew something back then, it would really help. So no, I would not sacrifice this. I would look really funny without them anyway.
Sarab, I am personally willing to guarantee you that I will go vegan. I mean, you've made the plea. I will go vegan until my next meal, until the next time I have to have something to eat. I promise you, I will eat nothing but peanuts or seaweed or whatever it might be.
Okay, I want to quickly address what Mario said about the teeth and the the reason why you want to eat. Our teeth, the molars, are like flat. They are not separated. A carnivore, their molars are offset. So it's like a cutting thing. And we are like more like frugivores, more like bears, chewing the cud. We are frugivores by design for our teeth. And for our stomach is such. It's not as complex as the cow. The cow's stomach is 28 feet, from the mouth to the anus, all the system. And if you give it a piece of meat, it's going to die somewhere because it has to fester right to 28 feet. The dogs, which is a carnivore, has a small cylindrical stomach. And when they eat, the acid is 10 times stronger than the human being. So they can eat raw meat and tomorrow it's out. Here you eat raw meat 3 days, 4 days, you won't be going out anywhere. Our stomach acid is low. And as you grow older, the acid becomes less and less strong. So that's
Sarah, the way our bodies are built is we have both kinds of teeth. I mean, that's what an omnivore does. We've got the cutting teeth in the front of our mouths, and that's made for chewing meat. And we've got the molars in the back of our mouths, and that's for the fruits and the vegetables. So I think we should allow both kinds of.
Go vegan, but in any case, now I want you to talk about how can we educate them. This is the education part. Now talk to Andrew about education.
Well, do you want to carry on with that, or should we carry on with the health and wellness topic? We could do that too and carry on with your concerns about food, because there are issues here.
We started it. Let's go there. It's okay. Let's go there. We started it now. Yeah.
Well, Sarab, one of the issues that you have been made a big deal about is, of course, health and wellness. And during the pandemic, we've faced a number of challenges in this score. We've been locked up. Maybe if we went into the grocery stores, the favorite foods weren't there. Maybe some of the things that we would normally like to eat, we have to bypass. There have been concerns about the safety of the food supply throughout the pandemic. I mean, we get a lot of our food coming from, say, other parts of the country, United States, where the pandemic is going nuts, particularly in California. And you've probably heard stories in the media about farm workers spreading the disease. What should we be focusing on during the pandemic as far as food and health and wellness is concerned? Sarab, you're an expert in that, so give us a rundown.
I am just saying what I'm doing, and what I would say, if they follow that, they will get the benefits. Number one, I only eat vegetables, and I don't even drink milk, no cheese. I'm a vegan, but I don't go that extreme. but all these foods have digestive profiles, and avoid the food which takes longer to digest, because as you grow older, and in any case, you can increase your lifespan if you avoid those foods. Basically, you make it into two foods, acidic and alkaline. And if you have so much of choice, fresh vegetables, leafy vegetables, all types of vegetables, I'm saying you can have meat, but I'm saying having too much meat causes excess of nutrients which you don't want. And most over, because of your acid being low, 30% of the food is undigested when it comes up. So you're wasting the resource for a start.
What about eating beans and basically what they're called pulses, like lentils, soybeans, any type of beans, chickpeas and stuff like this? What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's where you get your proteins. I mean, anything which is vegetarian has enough protein. We don't want to, we take heavy duty cheeses, we take different kinds of meat, we get extra protein. At this age, what do you need the protein for? That professional athlete became a vegan because he's getting all his stuff, and he was a rugby player, by the way, a big fat guy, and he's not having any meat, and this is why he decided, and he's getting all his strength from there. So it's not that he won't get the strength. And I have another story. I mean, I went to Rishikesh. This guy, he eats one meal a day, which I started doing. I'm not saying everybody should do that. One meal a day of uncooked food, vegetable, of course, and that's it. He drinks water, no milk, nothing. And he's 108 years old. He has no problem with his sight. He can hear with his ear. He's got his original teeth, and everything is perfect with this guy. And this is the guy to emulate. Now, he can teach us something, that if we all reduce our intake, because every food you take is a toxin as far as the body is concerned. The body decides whether it's food or not. And you are putting more toxins in your body when you have heavy density food. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Mario, would you change your diet of meat for, say, a diet of beans?
Yeah, of course.
No, Mario.
First off,
Mario. Okay, no more rib eye steak there, Mario. Instead, baked beans.
Yeah,
right.
Without the pork.
Okay, first of all, let me say to Sarah, thank you for allowing me to have my meat, because he said during his thing, it's okay to have meat as long as it's in proportion, and I agree. And I thank you for allowing me to have that. That's so great of you. Now, as far as the conversation about baked beans and diet, let me just give you a little brief story. And this is going during World War II. We have a dish in Greece called fasolada, which is a bean soup, okay? And during World War II, where the soldiers were out fighting the Italians in the middle of the mountains, the cooks of the different divisions would make these big containers of soup with either lentils in there or with I'm drawing a blank on the word now that I'm trying to think of what was the peas, not peas, of the oh my god, I just drew a blank on it.
Black beans.
Beans is the word. That beanie word just got on me. And well, what happened is there is a little bit of a side effect, if I may say, with having a little bit too much beans. And when you're in a foxhole, okay, and it starts to get a little bit too, after you eat for a few hours later, things start to get a little bit bad. And you want to know why the Italians got pushed back to their borders in World War II? It's because the Greeks were all becoming heroes because they couldn't take it anymore. Okay, and their battle cry, by the way, was aera, which means air. Give me air. So does that answer your question? No.
Mario, I have a
sounds like an apocryphal story. That's an apocryphal story. That's what that is.
You see the power of beans. The power of beans.
I'd like to just interject and address something that Mario has said here. I've always, at least for the last few years, regularly made for myself a bean soup, black beans, adding veggies and that and certain spices to make it delicious. And I've not had that problem. And the primary reason for that is I don't put sugar in it. Most of the bought is sugar in it. They put molasses in it. And that's what makes you fragrant, shall we put it that way. So
I'm not sure
I would
what
suggest
you're referring to. You're dancing around the topic. I think I'm supposed to make some connections that maybe I'm not making here. But anyway, I've never heard of any of this, and I'm glad we're all scientific experts here. We should obviously, you know, we've got the degree, we've got the expertise. Okay.
We are just telling each other our experiences and what in future will be beneficial to us and to the listeners. If they change their diet pattern, you can live longer.
If we eat a good diet through the different food categories, we make sure that, because the other thing with vegetarian or vegan is you have to be careful where you get your food because pesticides get in there. Okay, so we have to be careful there too, because there's so many toxins that can come from any food category. And as human beings, we have to find more different ways of controlling things and how the food gets to our plate. And, you know, the joking aside, I think that is very, very much a key issue of having food that we trust and the diet that we have. You know, obesity is a big thing. And I'm one of the people that I am obese, okay? You know, borderline, but I am obese. So yeah, it's diet that does play a role in the choice of food and the availability of food as well. You know, it's sometimes very much and very easy to stop at a fast food restaurant when you're on the road on business, as opposed to sitting down someplace and eating a good meal.
On the highway, they don't give you a choice anymore, Mario. They don't even give you that choice anymore. It's the hamburger place or nothing. And that's sad. And that's something that's changed in the past 20 years. But again, you know, that comes back to a topic we were talking about earlier, and the whole corporateness and the corporations running the food system. If we're talking about food, let's get into that topic, because that's where the unhealthy food comes from. It's all these factories and the processing and all the rest of it, you know. And I think if we eat fresh food, whether it's grains or vegetables and fruits and a certain moderate amount of meat, it needs to be fresh food and whole food. I think that's the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah, I just want to make one point here, that one should eat when they're hungry, not because it's time to eat. Yes. And secondly, the taste should be the last equation. I would say the way to calculate is, if I eat this stuff, it eliminates easy? Yes. Do I feel good? Yes. It's good for my body. Okay, let's make it taste better. That's the third priority.
I don't know.
So that's the philosophy of eating.
I get a lot of posts on Facebook about people joking about how they're overeating as a consequence of the pandemic. You know, the pictures before the pandemic and after several months into it. And that means that people are perhaps not controlling themselves or not eating well enough. They're overeating, as you say, Sarab, because they don't know any better, I suppose. But there's other issues that are coming into this, which deals with the fact that our entire habits, everything we do has been disrupted, down to the little things like where we get our morning coffee. Maybe we had it on our daily commute into the office, but not anymore, at least not a few months ago. And if you happen to be an office worker and still staying at home, well, you haven't gone back to your favorite coffee shop in months. Some people I've spoken to have even expressed a bit of depression out of this. I mean, the loss of their routines. How do people who are feeling like this, stressed out because they've lost their routines and presented with all this, the only thing they really can do is to eat. How do we deal with that? How do people deal with depression?
Yeah, that's the main reason why I'm bringing this point is during the pandemic, you're overeating, you're not exercising, and that's how the bad effect of food comes in. This is the time to change your eating pattern. If you're cooped up and there's nothing else happening, change your lifestyle. You'll just live longer to see the to all the what's happening around the world. Is you live longer, but you live healthy. That's the most important thing. But other than that, this is just a suggestion, and I think people will find they'll feel better because your body will have less energy used to digest the food. You will feel lighter. You get clearer. You start getting all the toxins out of your body.
Let me.
So you're saying that eating the right foods will help you with the issues of depression.
The antioxidants.
Give us an example beyond just meat. What people could do, how they could change their diets to make them feel better.
See, number one is to have a lot of green vegetables, beans, or whatever. But the main thing is to have a lot of antioxidants. There are a lot of antioxidant foods like, coriander, curry patta, and there are 6-7 items which you can have on a daily basis. What I do is I take everything and make it into a chutney. So whenever I have that as an accompaniment, but it has a lot of antioxidants. And what are free radicals is where all the meats have a lot of free radicals. And this is which causes you problem. Now, free radicals is nothing else but a simple electron missing in the valency, and so it reacts with anything. But when you have antioxidants, it reacts with that and neutralizes them. So it is not a danger to your system. So antioxidants are number one, which we have to keep having. Green tea is antioxidant. Lemon is antioxidant. All these foods, all alkaline foods basically are antioxidants. One has to take that. So,
let me take
Mario, you have something to say?
Yeah, let me take it to a little bit less scientific construct here and bring it more towards everyday layperson's perspective. The reason a lot of us are overeating is a couple reasons. First of all, is we're having a different diet these days, and that is a lot of diet of bad news. Okay, so we're constantly being bombarded by the COVID crisis, the deaths, and if we do have an overconsumption of that, it creates a situation of stress. It creates depression. Now, when you're not being able to get to work, to do what your normal routine would be, being out in the office, being busy, and we've all experienced this, when we are busy at work doing something, the day goes by very quickly. We don't even realize when our day is over. But when we are at home doing nothing or doing much lower a workload because we're either furloughed or whatever the case may be, the fridge is just over there, right? So we start to get bored, and boredom leads you right to that thing. It's like a friggin' magnet. You think the fridges have a magnet for a reason, right? And it draws you in there, and you're just gonna open that fridge up, and you're gonna satisfy that need that is in the fridge. Exercise is out there, and yes, I joke that I'm on the heavier side, but I do exercise every day with my wife. We go out, we walk, we do everything we can to maintain a healthier perspective of our lives. And especially with me, who works out of my home office, that alone adds a certain necessity to be out there. And I think we have to not forget that the stressors that are there environmentally, media-wise, and also what leads us to that fridge to begin with. And yes, I agree. Food choices are important, right? Instead of going for the potato chips, go for a carrot, go for a cucumber, go for something that's a little bit lighter, as opposed to, eating a bowl of popcorn.
Gentlemen, we're getting close to the end of this, and I would like to suggest that we each tell the other what our favorite pandemic food is that we think is healthy. And I'd like to start off with that by giving you mine. It's chocolate. My refrigerator is filled with chocolate. And you know what? Chocolate is supposed to have the highest level of antioxidants of any food that you can get. Now, of course, in the processing and making of a chocolate bar, there is a lot of losses in the amount of antioxidants in it. So I've got some actual chocolate beans that I can chew on as well. But if there was anything that I needed to get through this pandemic, it was chocolate, and all I could get, and not just candy, like low level chocolate bars with maybe 30% cocoa. I'm talking about the high test stuff, 90% or more, 100% would be perfect. Andrew, what is your favorite pandemic food?
Oh, you asked the question that way. I'm going to answer a slightly different way. In the past couple of years, I had not been eating much bread or grains or noodles or potatoes or anything like that. Since the pandemic and for the last months, I've been eating far too much bread and associated stuff. And I'm middle-aged, my body just doesn't handle it. And I'm one of the people who has gained weight over the past few months, and I know exactly why. I shouldn't be eating the bread. Forget about meat. Sarab is saying no meat. No. And that's not my problem. My problem is the bread.
Mario,
may I ask Andrew a question before we wrap up? Andrew, you were quite heavy once upon a time, and you are a perfect weight now, even though you
I was.
What was your journey from when you were really huge to what you are now?
Yeah. Pardon me?
Your journey from when you were large?
Yes, of course. It was vegetables, it was salads, and it was protein. And I found the meat in terms of chicken and fish, mostly chicken and fish. But it was
Mario, give us your favorite pandemic food.
Panacopitas.
Let me just say this. My favorite, it would be probably the Greek bean soup. Okay, and yes, it might lead to divorce, but it's okay. You know, if I stay healthy and I make Sarah happy, that will make my day as well. So bring on the Greek bean soup, the fasolada, man. That's what I want.
What's the soup called?
Wrap everything up by telling us your favorite food, and then let's close the meeting.
Oh, my main meal, what I do is I have an Instapot, and I put 4 carrots there, a celery, I put leeks, I put a little beans, I put a little onions, and I put a little garlic, ginger, and make a soup. And interpretation is I want to put only when I'm hungry, not because it's time to eat. So that way you are only eating the right amount. If I don't exercise, I don't eat too much. If I exercise, I feel hungry, I'll eat. But just eat vegetables and nuts and grains. Nuts, fruits, grains, and vegetables. That's what it is. This is
very well, gentlemen.
Education and COVID and how it's affecting us. So
perhaps if we get to it.
So please tune in for the next episode, which will be about COVID. So with that, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye, guys.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, we've been at this for about an hour.